Welcome to Medicine Through Grime. From the plague pits of the Middle Ages to COVID-19. How did people survive before antibiotics, ambulances, and the NHS? Short answer. Mostly they didn't. Back then, your local A&E was also your hairdresser, and the cure was a nice smear of sheep dung. Today we are exploring medieval monasteries, equal parts church, care home, and aggressively keen gardening club. In a world of plagues, foul water, and more rats than Glastonbury on day 3, these places were rare islands of learning. But here's the big question. Did monasteries actually push medicine forward, or just sprinkle it with holy water? First up, credit where it's due, monasteries did provide useful herbal remedies, grown in their extensive medicinal gardens. Monks weren't just sitting around praying, they were basically the original wellness influencers. Think less avocado smoothie, more mint leaves, sage, rosemary, and honey. They used these plants to treat everyday stuff: stomach aches, coughs, fevers, even dodgy bowels from drinking water out of a puddle. Some remedies actually worked. Honey has antibacterial properties, mint really can soothe the stomach. Others? Well, let's just say rub sage on it and pray wasn't exactly peer-reviewed science. But in a world with no antibiotics, these herbal remedies were a rare form of consistent practical healthcare. And crucially, monks wrote it all down in big, chunky manuscripts. So even if Brother Thomas had the bedside manner of a wet sponge, at least the knowledge was preserved and passed on. One thing monasteries definitely got right was public health. They believed cleanliness was akin to holiness. While most medieval towns were basically open sewers, monasteries stood out for being clean and organised. Take Fountains Abbey in Yorkshire. The monks there built a proper water system using the River Skell. Fresh water was channeled in for drinking and washing, while wastewater was carried away. Simple idea, massive impact. Fewer nasty smells, fewer germs, better hygiene. Compared to townfolk chucking toilet buckets into the street, monasteries were like medieval health spas. They showed that cleaner living made a real difference to disease. Another way monasteries helped was by offering a kind of medieval welfare state. Most monasteries had an infirmary, the closest thing they had to a hospital. It was not just for monks, but also for the sick and poor who turned up at the gates. They provided food, a bed, and basic care at a time when there was no NHS. Travellers could stop for a night's rest, the sick could get shelter, and the elderly or weak might be looked after when they had no family that could take them in. Think of it as the closest thing medieval England had to a care home mixed with a budget hotel. It wasn't perfect. Herbal brews and prayer were the main treatments. But compared to the outside world, monasteries offered genuine respite and support. Monasteries also played a big role in preserving knowledge and passing on medical education. The good news: monks were dedicated record keepers. They copied manuscripts by hand, page after page, like when your head of year gives you lines to copy for detention, only with fancier ink. That meant herbal remedies and practical treatments weren't lost. Without their libraries, huge chunks of medical know-how might have vanished completely during the Middle Ages. But here's the downside. The church stuck fast to Galen's old ideas. That meant alongside herbs and honey you also got bloodletting. It didn't cure much, but it did guarantee one thing: a very pale patient, and a monk, doing a decent impression of Dracula's apprentice. So monasteries kept useful remedies alive, but they also kept flawed ideas alive far longer than they probably should have. But not everyone got through the monastery doors. Certain groups were quietly shown the exit. Lepers were usually sent to separate leper houses outside towns, partly out of fear of infection, partly because monasteries didn't want to deal with long-term visible illness. Pregnant women were also excluded. Monasteries weren't set up for childbirth, and it didn't exactly fit with the vow of chastity. Let's be honest, a group of celibate men in robes weren't the go-to experts in that department. Some places even refused people with contagious diseases to protect the community of monks. So, while monasteries did offer care, they drew the line when things got complicated. Think of it like a medieval A&E with a very picky bouncer. Sorry, love, no entry tonight. Not with that rash. It shows that monastic healthcare was never universal. It was selective, shaped as much by religion and fear as by compassion. When Henry VIII closed all the monasteries in the 1530s, he didn't just grab the land and treasure, he also ripped out the heart of English healthcare. And being the wise king that he was, he had no plan B. The monastery's network of infirmaries vanished overnight. If you lived in a large town or city, there were some charitable hospitals, but across most of the country, especially in the countryside, there was nothing. For nearly 2 centuries, people were left without the safety net monasteries had provided. Only in the 18th century did a real hospital boom arrive. Over 150 voluntary hospitals were founded in that century alone. That's a long time to wait for progress. Imagine if the NHS just went on airplane mode for 200 years. So, how do you actually use all this in the exam? Medieval monasteries are your go-to example for any factor question on religion. You can balance your answer by showing both how they helped, herbal remedies, basic cleanliness, and preserving knowledge, and how they hindered, turning people away, relying on superstition instead of science, and sometimes preserving the wrong type of knowledge. You can also use them to show conceptual understanding of change and continuity. Monasteries barely altered how they were run throughout the Middle Ages, and then, bam, their dramatic closure. That sudden shift actually caused a regression in healthcare for 200 years. That's all for now, grimy historians, but this is just the start. The full Medicine Through Grime course is on Socraflix, taking you all the way through until Boris tells everyone to wash their hands and sing happy birthday. And if history gets you buzzing, our Germany unit is there too. Same vibes, same jokes that might not always land, and the same exam focus. So sign up. It's basically Netflix, but with barber surgeons instead of Bridgerton.